Great. Welcome to the Arts and Culture Commission meeting on Thursday, October 18th, 2018. Roll call, please.
Commissioners Oshigan,
Yes.
Zadorian,
Yes.
Chairperson Sahakian.
Yes.
For the record, Commissioner Derhovanesian and Vice Chair Vidor are not present. The agenda for the October 18th meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on October 12th, 2018. Item 2, consent items at 2A, approval of special meeting minutes from August 24th, 2018.
Great. So we will take, we have 3 minutes to review and approve, so we can take them one by one, starting with August 24th, 2018, special meeting.
Commissioner Vidor had suggestions, amendments to it. Those are all incorporated into these minutes? I just want to make sure that's been incorporated.
So I had a brief conversation with her, and she expressed that she was comfortable proceeding. And
Okay.
just also, we've kind of delayed the vote as well on these items. It'd be nice to finish it up today, unless there are any major changes that were needed by the commissioners.
I move to approve.
Second.
Great. Roll call, please.
Commissioners Oshigan,
Yes.
Zadorian,
Yes.
Chairperson Sahakian.
Yes.
Item B, approval of regular meeting minutes from September 20th, 2018.
Was this the last one we had?
This is the last regular meeting that we had right here in the chambers.
Okay.
I move to approve.
And I second.
Great. Roll call, please.
Commissioners Oshigan,
Yes.
Zadorian,
Yes.
Chairperson Sahakian.
Yes.
Item C, approval of special meeting minutes from October 9th, 2018.
Great. And this was our last special meeting, most recent one, and it was held at the Central Library.
That's fine. So we're just going to be waiting on the actual work plan for the next meeting? So we're just approving what was discussed?
Yeah, this is just for the minutes, but we do have it on the agenda to discuss the work plan based on the feedback from the commission staff at that special meeting.
Yes, it's just one page here. Yeah, I move to approve.
And I second.
Roll call, please.
Pat in here.
Commissioners Oshigan,
Yes.
Zadorian,
Yes.
Chairperson Sahakian.
Yes.
Item 3, introductions and presentations. At 3A, Library Arts and Culture events presented by Chuck Wyke, Community Relations Manager.
Right, good afternoon, Chair Sahakian, Commissioners, staff. Here's a brief rundown of a little bit of what's happened and a lot of what's coming up at the Library Arts and Culture Department. I'll start off with tonight, October 18th at 6:30 p.m., the Brand Associates, kind of in conjunction with their Works on Paper exhibition, will have a panel discussion on how to collect art, simply put. So that looks to be a fun program. That's tonight, October 18th, 6:30 at Brand Library. They also have a docent tour coming up this Saturday, October 20th at 9:30 a.m. You'll get a chance to walk around the lovely Leslie Brand Estates and the current home of our great Brand Library and Arts Center. On Friday, October 26th, next week, at 5:30 at the Central Library, we are co-sponsoring the Philippine Heritage Arts and Culture Celebration. That's usually a very festive kind of affair. There's dancers, a fashion show, and a lot of good food. So I know we've hosted that in the past, and it's nice to see it come back to the library, but that'll be a really fun program. It's after hours, starts at 5:30, again at the Central Library on Friday, October 26th. Our initiative this month is Mango Languages. It's a language learning app. You can learn just about any language online. There's over 70 languages. It's all free, so we encourage the public to, learn some crazy language. You want to go to Italy, to France, to Armenia, This is a good way to get started with the language. We have an author talk coming up on October 30th. That's on a Tuesday. Seth Greenland is an American novelist. He's got a brand new book called The Hazards of Good Fortune. What I thought was interesting about him is he started out writing comedy for Joan Rivers and a variety of comedians. He's written plays, he's written movies, screenplays, and now he lives in Los Angeles and he writes novels. He should be a lot of fun. He's a very funny man, and we're looking forward to this talk. That's again Tuesday, October 30 at the Central Library. Reflect Space at downtown Central Library. Our newest exhibition is called Bodied Politics. The opening reception was on October 5th. Here's a number of people, a couple of which you should recognize. That was our opening reception. We had a number of people there. It was a good time. A lot of people, a lot of our staff talked. We have some more programs coming up. Again, Policing the Body, that's a panel discussion with the programs manager at the LGBT Center of Los Angeles. There's some good panelists. That's October 24th. That's in a week. We have a discussion and a film presentation by Professor Broderick Fox. He's a professor at Occidental College. He will speak on November 8th, Thursday at 8 o'clock, and show a film. And finally, very, very different for us, we've got something called Beyond Borders Queer Pop-Up Cafe, Bridging Cross-Cultural LGBTQ Voices. That's co-sponsored by GALAS Los Angeles, and we've got some moderators. And this is a moderated invitation-only roundtable. It's going to be on Sunday, November 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. We ask that you emailed ReflectSpace at reflectspace@glendaleca.gov. If you are interested, you want to get more information, we'll hopefully sign you up. There's just not enough room to put everybody in there. But that looks to be a fascinating discussion with a bunch of people. What's this? This, right in the center, is Laura Friedman, our assembly member. She sponsored a photography contest, and this is the final event. It was a little short exhibition and a reception at the Adams Square Mini Park gas station. So they put the photos inside the gas station. She met a lot of people. She walked around. It was really a lot of fun. The community always turns out for programs at the gas station or in the park. But that was a good program. I believe these photos are now going to be on exhibition in her offices in Sacramento. Now, here's something that came to my attention. Our man Scott Froschauer, he did the program The Word on the Street. Okay, there's the fun signs that are in our parks and outside of our libraries. Well, he contacted LA Metro, and they're going to do a bike tour. They're going to do a bike tour of his installations throughout Glendale. This is all on Sunday, September 4th. Starts at 10 o'clock, and it's about 4 miles round trip. It's fairly flat. There's the
November 4th.
November 4th, sorry, Sunday, November 4th. There's a little map, so it's a flattish deal, but it starts at our Central Library. You're going to go see Pacific Park, you're going to go to Maple Park, and you're going to see a number of his signs along the way. Really a clever idea. I know he is interested in coming back with signs for your next work plan. So if you haven't seen them, this is a good chance to do it. A nice way to see a couple of our libraries too. Dia de los Muertos. Saturday, November 3rd, the city of Glendale, specifically the city clerk's office and the library and some other departments are sponsoring a number of events, but the big one is going to take place on Saturday, November 3rd, up at Artsac Paseo, formerly the, I've forgotten, it's the Maryland Paseo between Wilson and Broadway. There's going to be live music, ballet folklorico, story times, skull decorating, face painting. A mariachi band, I believe, was sponsored by our friends at King Taco. So it looks to be a fun event and a good way to energize that paseo up there. I should also mention that the Central Library will have a community ofrenda. And I can describe that as it's a traditional Mexican celebratory affair honoring the spirits of the deceased. So we're going to host that at the Central Library, about in the area where the artist did a mock-up for us. That's going to be there for the entire week from October 28th through November 4th. We're looking forward to that. We'd like the community to come down, bring pictures, mementos, and we'll place them on the ofrenda, and you can come down and see that at the Central Library. A program that the Commission is co-sponsoring is the Real Art film series, specifically a documentary called Faces Places. This is going to be at the Brand Library and Arts Center on Thursday, November 8th. There's a screening at 7 o'clock and a panel discussion at 8:30. This is an award-winning documentary basically about public art and the nature of it and how to get it, and how to create it, and what it means to people who see it. The post-screening will explore the promise and challenges of implementing a public art program with leaders in the world of public art. I have it on good report that Ara Oshagan, our own commissioner, will be one of the panelists. We'll also have Addie Gonzalez-Renteria, who works with Now Art LA, and Eve Rappaport, who some of you may know. She used to work at the City of Glendale. She's now the Cultural Services Manager at the City of Torrance. Again, that's Thursday, November 8th, 7 o'clock. Teen Fair, I bring this up. There are a number of initiatives we have at the library. One is to communicate with teens in the city. And our staff went out and talked to students at all the high schools last year. They kind of canvassed the clubs at the various high schools, and they said, what would you guys like to do? How could we help you with what you need to do to get through school? And one of the big issues is that every teen has to have a certain number of hours of community service, volunteer time. And that's hard to do for a variety of reasons, but we talked to the teens, and we've set up a teen fair that's going to be in February of 2019, and leading up to that, there are just a number of activities, some of them having to do with the arts, some with music. We've invited teen clubs, individuals. They'll be able to get some community service hours and then get together at the end of it in February for a big teen fair. And we're even leaving it as teen fair because they're gonna name the fair at some point. So we're looking forward to that. Let me go backwards, let me go forwards. Just to end up, our Brand Library and Central Library, we're open for business. We hope you'll come by. There's so many programs for all ages. Arts and culture are part of our name. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for the report, Chuck. Any questions, comments, commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Oshagan.
So this thing that Scott Froschauer is doing with Metro, I think it's fantastic, and the fact that he's continuing to build on what he's done. But I think Are we in any way mentioned in any of this as the commission?
He's calling it, the only publicity I've seen, it just says City of Glendale program. So not the commission per se. He did this all on his own. He didn't ask us, can you help me out or anything. He just went straight to Metro and set up a bike program.
Right, so I think we should at least somehow try to be proactive about that. If be in touch with him, for instance, if he's got other plans to work with him, because I think this is a fantastic thing. Plus, somehow, the work should be known as the commission sponsored. I think right now, nobody knows who sponsors it, right? Maybe it's City of Glendale. So we should find some strategies in which we can say, the commission did this, and it's getting all this press. So I think it's really important for our visibility and our presence in the community.
He is part of the opening talk at the Central Library, and he's been very vocal about and appreciative of the commission's expertise in getting his program.
Support.
Support,
yeah. Him, right?
He's been very happy about that, and I expect him, and then we'll urge him to make sure that he brings that up. That's certainly a place, if one of you were standing next to him at the opening of the bike path, I'm sure you'd be able to say something. We can get in touch with him if you'd like to know that.
Yeah, I think so. We should try to strategize that somehow. And so there's going to be an opening, like a kickoff?
Yeah, he's kind of going to be stationed at the Central Library for a little bit to kind of kick off the bike ride. I can talk to him. I can talk to him and see what we can do.
We should be proactive somehow.
Sure.
When we have really good programs like this one in our city, we should, and it keeps building on it, keeps expanding, and we should definitely give him more space if he wants to do more signs, give him more signs, but work with him a little bit more closely and be proactive. I think it's really important.
And I'll just add that, we're very proud of the work he's done, and it's a great example of, what we can accomplish as a commission, and community members love it. They get surprised by the signs all the time, and it's very positive and inspirational. So if there are opportunities for us to partner, and this might be a good model as we start looking forward to our future events, including the Beyond the Box, utility box mural, kind of mini exhibitions or openings, and some of the tours we've talked about. So good opportunity to collaborate. Commissioner Zadorian, any comments?
No comments.
Great. Thank you, Chuck. Next item, please.
Item 4, oral communications. There is none. Item 5, business agenda at 5A, action item. 5A1, discuss and provide direction to staff on the 2019-2020 work plan.
Great. So we are back discussing our 2019-2020 work plan. Before we proceed, do want to briefly acknowledge our staff members who are joining us who've been working very hard on this work plan and the Urban Art Program Plan, and also welcome Dr. Gary Schaeffer, our new Director of Library Arts and Culture. Very pleased to have you here, and you did join us for our last meeting, but this is the first time that we are televised, so welcome, and I'll go through more formal, embarrassing bio later on in the meeting, but happy to have you here with us. So just
thank you.
Just a brief recap. City Council approved our Urban Art Program Plan, which set out our long-term strategic vision for public art in Glendale. And since then, we've been working on defining what are the short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals that we want to implement as a commission, which would go to City Council as a recommendation through these two-year work plans. And we've had a number of meetings, lots of discussions to kind of narrow it down and to most importantly kind of decide what we're doing in the next 1 to 2 years from that plan. What do we want to implement, and what are the kind of foundations we're going to put in place, whether it's staff or support, so that we can successfully implement the plan in the long term as well. And so today we just had our last special meeting on October 9th, kind of narrowed it down to the public art programs and initiatives, and then also identified some of the policy changes we wanted to recommend, some of the staffing and consulting needs we had as well, And so I think the goal for today is just to continue discussion, see if there's any additional ideas, changes that Commission wants to recommend. And our goal would be to have possibly one more special meeting, but our November regular meeting is when we would like to make a recommendation or vote formally so that then it can go to council with the Commission's recommendation. So with that, we can open it up to Commissioners' comments on the current draft work plan that we have in front of us. Sure.
Good afternoon, Chair Sahakian and Commissioners. I apologize for not being able to make our special meeting last week. I'm almost over the cold that had me knocked out cold for about 2 days last week. And I want to thank Maria and Gary for running the meeting, as well as other staff, and compiling, I think, a more concise and to the point work plan that is part of your packet today. Next steps, I just wanted to talk to you guys about that before we meet next week. I've put together kind of a draft of the programs and projects so that we can kind of assign estimated budgets as we move forward. One of the things I looked at was the programs and project lists from your last work plan from 15 and 17, and if there were things that were pointed out as programs or projects that were allocated funds that we discussed including in this work plan, so those would carry over. I also thought it was a good guide in terms of, and we'll discuss this next week, helping us establish what those estimated budgets might look like. In addition to that, some of the work that we've been doing as we've continued to draft included a phone call or contact from the consultant that put together the website for the Urban Art Program Plan. As you guys recall, you could go on and add feedback and all of that. Well, the website still exists, and they reached out to find out if it's something that the Commission would want to pursue as a website that could still be used. So I think that's something we should discuss next week. And I also included that as a program or project to either use the website we have, change the name of it, or create a new website. But that's not something that we talked about necessarily, so I just wanted to mention that as something that we might want to look at doing. What were the other things you mentioned? Oh, and one of our next steps, and this is on my programs and project list, is putting together an RFP to hire a consultant to help us carry the work plan forward. I think that's going to be a really important next step. And then another thing that popped up recently was the process that the Commission wants to identify to have members of the public, other departments of the city come forward with project ideas. You know, I've only been working with you guys for about 6 months, so I don't know how that's happened in the past. But we have some recommendations in terms of maybe an online proposal form so that there's some avenue for groups to come forward to the Commission with ideas. And, you know, part of our program and project list is temporary art, permanent art, but how is it that we're going to identify those projects? And then possibly one of the commissioners acts as a steward for that project, taking it forward. Just a couple examples would be, I was approached actually today about the city wanting to do some kind of pilot mural program next to a business over off of like California and Brand. But I was wondering how we bring that project to the Commission as, again, even if it's not something that's funded out of urban art funds, that the Commission is being part of this public art initiative, right? So I think that's maybe something we want to talk about. If that's the right venue, Mike, I don't know how we've done it in the past, as including that as our work plan too, is a more formal process for the public and other city departments to bring things forward to you guys. So as I mentioned, I'll have that ready for next week, that list. I've shared it with Gary, and we'll talk about that and hopefully come up with some budget, estimated budgets. And then I'll also work on with Maria on developing what looks like a realistic timeline to hopefully carry the programs and projects we've talked about, as well as the policy recommendations forward in 2019 and 2020. So that's kind of a status update. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Great, thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, so the website, so you're envisioning the website to sort of morph into the commission's website? Is that the idea? Because it's kind of very specific about community feedback, which is great, but it can be maybe expanded. Is that?
Yeah, I definitely think we want to make it whatever you guys want it to look like, but we're a little bit inspired right now by Brand Library as well as Reflect Space. Maria, as you're aware, Ara, are creating websites that you would go into the, sorry about my throat, you would go into the Arts and Culture Commission's website, and then there'd be a link to a Wix website or whatever it is. And we were thinking, if you already have the bones of this website that's been built with some of the information that you probably want to keep from the whole urban art program plan, like identifying where public art is in the community and things like that, we either use that one or we develop another, but that wasn't something we talked about previously as a project or program that you guys might want to do. And it came to our attention because this group's wondering if we want to kill the website or keep it alive.
I have a question. Sorry. Is this website being paid for? Was it, is it a free website? How does it work exactly?
My assumption is that it was paid for out of the money, the consultant contract through the RFP that for with Goldstein and CARS, because I believe CARS is the one that worked on the website.
So I assume there's like a monthly or yearly kind of fee that you pay to continue using it?
I don't believe it's being paid for currently, so that's where, you know, either we make a decision to just let it go or take it and make it something else. I'm not sure, but I think that's something we could discuss next week.
Yeah, I think for the purposes of collecting public feedback, it was a great website. Corbinize was a great platform because you're able to plot the locations, you're able to identify current art, opportunities for art, but I think it may be short of what maybe our long-term vision would be, because I think it would be good to have an independent website for the commission, because the city website's busy. I mean, there's a lot going on it, and it's a little bit challenging to get our message across, but you know, we'd have to do everything from showcasing the projects. I like the idea of having a public submission, you know, portal type of approach, because while we kind of set up buckets and then try to find artists to do them, I'm sure there are a lot of creative ideas that our community of artists locally and around the region would love to propose, and they're looking for a city to do it in, and we want to be as welcoming as possible to have those opportunities come forward to us. So yeah, I think that we can have a more extended discussion during the special meeting on that.
It's a really timely thing because, like I said, we're developing 2 other separate websites, so Maria's kind of an expert on it at this point, so I'm sure that's something that we could allocate funds, and then, because I do think that's one way to really spread the word about all of the things that the commission is supporting and doing for the community in a way that we really haven't been able to do so far.
Absolutely. And also the calendar, because I think, you know, it's great to be on the city website, but there's a lot of different events happening there. And there are some in the community who I'm sure want only the arts and culture events, and some that want some of the other ones, but it'd be nice to have one place where, you know, it's just commission and arts and culture related events showcased.
So that should be included in the work plan as the website, because as I said, it's not in here, so it should be added into the work plan when we discuss it.
Yeah, I didn't print out the draft that I have yet, but one of the programs or projects that I listed was develop and maintain a commission website and arts and programming calendar. Yeah. So that's on the list, and then we'll talk about that and hopefully whatever it's going to cost.
Yeah, so we should put it in there. And I think when we should definitely have a website, and when we have it, this could be one part of it, right? Because it's sort of the genesis of the whole program and the process, and then we have all these other things that are critical for a functioning and good website.
Sure.
Great. Commissioner Zeroni?
I just had a question. So for the next meeting, I'm not sure who can answer this for me. Are we discussing the budget, or are we going to be going through the work plan once more? Like, or is the work plan, is it like completed? Are we able to add on to it?
What I'm hoping to do is finalize the draft of the projects and programs. I could put recommended estimated budget, but I think that's what we'll discuss during the meeting. as well as hopefully I can draft somewhat of a timeline for these programs and projects, as well as the policy recommendations. So I think we'll be finalizing the numbers and the timeline that we anticipate. And any other changes from the draft that we have in front of you today that Maria put together.
So I guess we can discuss adding the calendar next week at our next meeting.
Well, it'll be on the projects and programs list.
Oh, okay, okay.
You know, and then we'll have to, part of the timeline, I think, is going to be figuring out what we're going to tackle first. And then hopefully in the next 2 years, we, you know,
Where is that
prioritize.
projects portion? Because I'm not seeing.
I have.
You have a
sent it
separate?
yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
and where does
So
that fit in here, though? Is it going to be its own?
It would be like an exhibit 1, exhibit 2.
Okay.
Which is kind of how, like if you look at the last work plan that we sent you, it had the plan itself, and then the exhibits were like the proposed budget as well as the timeline. So I will work to get you that before next week so you can review it and we can talk about it.
Thank you.
But I would recommend including it under marketing and outreach efforts section as a standalone. The website in particular, if the commission is
Yeah, I would
comfortable
go
with
in
that.
there, yeah. I
Yeah.
think marketing and outreach website,
Fine with that.
definitely.
Okay. Were there any other changes or edits to the work plan?
Well, just for kind of being open for public, let me briefly kind of read through it just so it's on the record as well. So right now we have 4 major categories for public arts and culture initiatives. And the first is citywide arts, highly visible art in public locations. And under that we have initiate process for a permanent landmark art project, establish a temporary art placement program, identify public utilities and infrastructure sites for potential arts projects, and continue and expand the Beyond the Box utility box mural program. Number 2, we have neighborhood arts, culturally relevant arts in neighborhood settings. And under there, we have launched temporary arts programs in 1 to 2 neighborhoods per year, produce culturally diverse and inclusive programs within neighborhood settings, and continue and support the Adams Square Mini Park Gas Station exhibition series. And our third performing arts category, performance-based arts in public locations. For both of those, we have continue and support the Brand Plaza Performance Series at the Brand Library and Arts Center, and continue and support the 222 East Performance Series at Downtown Central Library. And our last category is number 4, arts and culture events, impactful community engagement in public spaces. Establish a plan for a major public event and event series, and support diverse programs and events at the Arts and Entertainment District and Artsakh Paseo. And then in addition to that, we have staffing actions, policy analysis, and marketing and outreach efforts. Just to kind of give a brief overview. And maybe we can start with the public arts and culture initiatives. We've reviewed this a number of times, but any changes, additions, modifications that Commission wanted to discuss? And while we're going through that too, Nikki, we have, because some of these, I think it's much more black and white, you know, Beyond the Box utility box murals, we know how much we pay each artist, we know approximately how many boxes we can do, and it's pretty clear what the budget will be for that, but then I could see how some of these establish a temporary art placement program. We don't have our consultant yet that's going to give us direction on how big or small that may be. And same with the initiating the process for a permanent landmark art project, which I think the Commission's very excited about. We know that will take time, but that will be require quite a bit of study and planning.
One of the things that I used as reference, except, you know, in addition to the last list of projects and programs, was straight from the Urban Art Program Plan. One of the appendices, or yeah, it was Appendix A. Barbara laid out the various recommendations and what she estimates our costs. So I think we could use this as a guide to some extent, as well as what was allocated the last time around. And even the allocations last time, to me, they were best guesses. So we will just want to establish, like for example, from her list, there was develop and maintain a detailed arts calendar for Glendale. Her suggested budget was $20,000. So commission may want to look over this as a guide as we move forward on guesstimating budgets.
Great.
Yeah, so that's what I used as reference too. And I pulled some things from this based on what we identified as work plan items, but a little more specific from her recommendations.
Great. That would be a
Okay.
good guide for us to follow.
And I will get those drafts to you as soon as I can. I'm working tomorrow and I don't have meetings, so. That's good.
Thank you. Any questions, comments on the current draft?
Well, it seems pretty complete. I mean, we went over this quite a bit. To me, the important thing was that it kind of reflects sort of our whole approach, and I think somebody looks over this, they see this is like pretty significant kind of effort to bring art to Glendale. So I think it's, obviously the details will always change, you know, in here, but I think I'm happy with this.
I think the two most important things, other than continuing and supporting most of these programs, would be the permanent landmark art project and the temporary art programs in 1 to 2 new neighborhoods. So I think once we get the work plan going and we start actually discussing what those will be, we can see things coming to life, really, because everything else is kind of things that we already have, we're supporting. So those will be kind of how we put Glendale kind of on the map. So I'm kind of looking forward to those 2 specific bullet points at the current moment, other than hiring a consultant, obviously.
Well, and then the second bullet in number 1, establish a temporary art thing,
Yes.
I think, right? That's going to be the thing that's going to be the most visible that brings art to Glendale. And
Yeah.
the consultant, I'm thinking that we'll be working essentially on that. And I guess we have to also consider if we need 1 consultant or 2 consultants for these different kinds of efforts, right? So the permanent art, the temporary art, and the neighborhood, those 3 points,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So I think it's great as is, and we'll obviously discuss next week.
Well, we've had a lot of healthy discussion to get us to this point, and staff's done amazing work to get the ideas of all 5 commissioners incorporated into the plan. We appreciate all the work that has been put in already. But yeah, I mean, there are so many, I'll call them gems in here, because the permanent landmark art project we've talked about so much that, you know, something that is uniquely Glendale that people are going to come to just to experience that. And of course, with that, they'll be exposed to our downtown area and all the businesses and other kind of great attractions in Glendale. The temporary placement program, I think it's, like you said, there's just so much opportunity there. And the neighborhood programs, you know, Adams Square Mini Park gas station exhibitions are a great model. Looking forward to expanding that. And the events as well. I think we haven't, you know, I think we've been talking about doing kind of a regular events program, and I think it'll be nice to get a program plan in place and get going on those. So if there aren't any additional comments, I think what we can do is we can plan to do our next special meeting where we'll go more in depth on the budget for each item and overall for the work plan timeline, because this is a lot of work, and we'll schedule it out and see what we can prioritize to come first, second, third, and so on. And we'll have another chance to go through the work plan as well if there are any other last-minute changes. And I think the plan would be then to bring it back to commission in our regular meeting in November to formally vote on it, and then that will become hopefully a recommendation to council to consider. Great. I think we're ready for our, Mike, do we need a motion for the special meeting? Okay. Great. Great. So we'll have our special meeting on October 24th and go from there.
Okay.
Great. Next item, please.
Item 6, commission staff comments.
Commissioners, any
No
comments?
comments? No, I don't think I have any comments today. We spoke so much at the last meeting.
I'm sure Chair Sahakyan will obviously introduce and thank you, but I would like to welcome you. I'm very happy to see you at our meeting, and I'm really looking forward to working with you. I met you one time last week, but I already know that we'll get along very well, and it'll be very enjoyable. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you for the welcome.
So now for my formal introduction, that was promised. Very excited to be working with you, Dr. Gary Schaeffer, our new Director of Library Arts and Culture. So Gary Schaeffer was appointed on August 28th, 2018 to serve as the Director of the Glendale Library Arts and Culture Department. Most recently, he served as the head of the Library Information Science Management Program at the Marshall School of Business at the University of Southern California, and Assistant Dean of USC Libraries and Director of their Center for Library Leadership and Management. He is the former Chief Executive Officer of Tulsa City County Library, a 24-location public library system. Gary started his library career as a trainee at the Brooklyn Public Library. He then worked for the Los Angeles County and Sacramento Public Libraries prior to serving the residents of Tulsa. In 2006, he was named a Library Journal Mover and Shaker, one of 50 people shaping the future of libraries. And Dr. Schaeffer received his PhD in managerial leadership in the information professions from Simmons College in Boston. He holds a master's in library and information science from the Pratt Institute in New York City, a master's of professional writing from the University of Southern California in Los Angeles, as well as a master of laws in intellectual property from the University of Turin School of Law. And also Gary's book, Creating the Sustainable Public Library, was published in March 2018 by ABC CLIO's Libraries Unlimited. He speaks domestically and internationally and has advocated for copyright reform on behalf of libraries and archives as a member of the IFLA delegation to the UN's World Intellectual Property Organization Standing Committee on Copyright and Related Rights in Geneva, Switzerland. And he is a member of the Public Library Association and Special Library Association. In the American Library Association, ALA, he is active with the Committee on Library Advocacy, the ALA Development Task Force, and the Sustainability Roundtable. He previously served for 4 years on the board of the Public Library Association, as well as a 3-year term on the ALA Council, ALA's governing board. Prior to working in libraries, Gary supervised Fortune 500 accounts for various advertising agencies. And with that, I want to formally welcome Dr. Gary Schaeffer, and we're very much looking forward to working with you.
Again, thank you so much for the very kind introduction. And I'm also very excited to work with you all. A big attraction to this position was a profound love of libraries, but also the fact that I got to work with all of you in kind of setting the vision for arts and culture in this amazing city. So thank you.
Thank you. And next item, please.
If I could just say
yes.
one thing quick. I want to also welcome you, Gary, to Glendale, to our library. You have a tremendous resume as a library, involved in different libraries, but also, you may not know, he is also a fiction author. And so he fits in very well with our Arts and Culture Commission and the work we have to do in Glendale. So not only for the library, but for Glendale Arts and Culture, he's a perfect man. So welcome.
Thank you, Ara.
Thank you, Commissioner Shangan. With that, next item, please.
Item 7, written communications.
There are no written communications.
Item 8.
We are adjourned. Thank you.